Hey everybody, I'm Garcia, and today we're going to be putting together our very own fairy tale by laying out tiles on the board in this appropriately named game called Fairy Tile. Three characters meet in this fantasy land. You've got your princess, your knight, and your dragon, and you are going to be manipulating them as well as the land around them in order to score your cards. Get through all of your cards first, you win the whole thing. It's a very simple game. Let me show you how it works. We'll come on back after that. I'll tell you what I think of it and who I think it would be good for. So, here we go. So here's what the game looks like, set up, ready to begin. We have dealt out the cards evenly to all of the players, as well as given each player one of these magic tokens, which is on the off side right now. Eventually, they might flip it over and have it as a special action on their turn. And what the players are attempting to do is go through all of their cards. Whoever's able to tell all of these adventures first is going to be the winner of the game. Everyone has one of these from their own personal deck in their hand, and that's what they're working on right now. So, on each turn, each player is going to do one of two things. You are going to either develop your story or you are going to turn a page. Turn a page is very simple. If you think you are not going to be able to complete this in a while, then you can turn the page, put it at the bottom of your deck, draw a new one, and if your magic token here is off, you turn it on and flip it over, and that's it for you. The other option is to develop your story, and you can do one of two things with that. You can add land to what's going on here in the center of the table, as long as two sides touch a tile and the river is, makes sense. You cannot touch the river to something that doesn't have water, then you can do that. So this is fine. I could do that as a legal play. The other option is I can move a character. And what I'm trying to do is, again, complete these cards. And these cards are going to say things like, have the princess end up on the river, or have the dragon and the knight meet, or have these characters end up in the forest, things like that. All right. So for instance, I have here in my hand, let's go ahead and grab another one. All right. So I have here in my hand a card that says the princess can see the knight and the dragon. So I have to make sure that she ends up somewhere, and the other characters as well, where they can see each other. And so, for instance, if she was here, she could see the dragon, she could see the knight. I would then qualify for this, discard it, show it to the other players, and draw a new one. However, these characters have specific ways in which they move. The dragon is going to jump in a straight line until they hit the edge of the board, and they cannot jump over an empty spot. So if this is, let's see, if I develop this something like that, then the dragon cannot jump from here all the way to there because they would go over an empty spot. So in fact, they would just go there. And I can pick which way they fly, but all the way to the edge of the board. The knight has to move 2 spaces, exactly 2. So 1, 2, and they cannot make a move which has them end really just 1 space away, where you do this whole thing. 1, 2, that's not legal. You have to go 2 spaces away. And then the princess, a single space away, though she has a special move, which is she can go from one castle to another castle as part of that one move. So if she is here, she could go 1, but she's on a castle, she can immediately go to another one. All right? So that's how that works. And so let's reset our board here. I am working on this, trying to get the princess to see the other characters. I might move her here for 1, and that's it. I could now play this card and recount the adventure, which is what they call moving along through your own deck of cards, but I don't qualify for this yet. So I'm done. That's all I did. I moved her. Then this player would take a turn. And their card says, the princess and the dragon meet in the mountain. Fine. So this player is going to try to get the princess and the dragon to meet on one of these mountains. Any mountain, they'll jump the dragon over here. This player would take a look at their card, and it says the knight and the dragon meet in the forest. Fantastic. So this player's going to jump the dragon here to this forest, play this card. Hey, look at that. They meet in the forest. Done. grab the next one. I now could move, let's say I jump the dragon over here, and the princes can now see the dragon and the knight because they're in straight lines. Done, I qualified for that. I draw my next card. If, let's say this player's next card is really impossible right now, they tuck it away, they flip over their magic token, and they draw a new one. That's called turning a page. If when it is their turn again, and from now on really anytime they want to, they are allowed to recount, to develop their story, and that is add land or move a character twice in one go by spending this. So they could add land, and then they could move a character, let's say, and that second move would have cost them their magic token, and so they drain that. And they could earn it again by again turning the page, but that's how you can take 2 turns back to back and help you set something up to cash it in. This continues again until someone goes through all of their cards in their hand, and they're all variations on what you've seen here, right? So things like, the dragon can see the princess. The dragon visits the large forest, which is 3 or more spaces of forest together. What else? The princess and the dragon meet in the forest. The dragon visits the large plains, 3 or more spaces. Large mountains. Let's see. The knight can see 3 lined up plains. So if I, later on find some plains, let's say I do this. How do we do this? That's not going to work out for him, is it? Do that. And anyway, if I can line up 3 of these planes, which I clearly cannot right now, and he was looking down at 3 lined up ones, that would qualify for that. And so on. That's the sort of things you're going to find in the game. So very simple, very straightforward. Move character, add some land, possibly. Cash in your cards, or pass on one and save up an extra turn so you can get something a little easier to do right now. So that should give you an idea of how the whole thing moves, all the little gears that are turning within the game. Let's go back up top. Let me tell you how it feels as you are playing and if I think it's a good game. So that is Fairy Tile. As you can see, a pretty straightforward little design, but a very clever and attractive one. So let's talk about this. I'm going to use my target audience system here to break down some of my thoughts. We're going to kick it off with thematic ties. I'm not a big fan of fantasy normally, but this game handles its fairy tale sort of trappings in a very clever, beautiful, and simple way. I think it fits very well. I really enjoy the theme here. It's one that is attractive. It's one that is easy for other folks to get into. It is not esoteric. It is clean and sort of bright and almost wholesome, in the trappings of the genre. So I like it. The aesthetics are fantastic. I love the look of the tiles. The cards are very nice. Artwork, as I said, is superb. It looks like an animated movie that doesn't exist that this is based on, and I love that. And of course, the miniatures being very well sculpted and painted add the final touch to make the game really luxurious. And while it is not it doesn't look like an overproduced version of another game, I think it is very well made, and I think it's going to have that table appeal that's important to get folks to come sit at the table and enjoy the vibe that this game presents, So very nice on the aesthetics. Replayability. I think it's pretty good, and I think it's the game presents itself as a puzzle from round to round. Some of those puzzles are going to be very simple. You'll draw a card. Oh, look, hey, I move this, done. That card is done. Those turns can be fun. But sometimes it will take a little more setting up, and sometimes you want to bury that card and turn the page, as the game says, to give yourself 2 turns for the next one, and you can pull off some fun stuff like that. So the replayability is there if you enjoy A, if you enjoy puzzles, and B, if you really get into the story and you even read the little text at the bottom of the cards, which the rules say you should read, and kind of tell yourself a little story as you are going. I did not get into the theme that much myself, but you could, and if you do, I think the replayability is going to be heightened. Game length is very nice. The game does not outstay its welcome. You are going to divvy out all the cards no matter how many players you're playing with, but even with 2, which means I have half the deck and the other player has half the deck, it still does not outstay its welcome. I thought it was appropriately timed. You know, it's the correct amount of time to watch everything develop, to give you moments of highs and lows. You know, that's good. Ease of play, very high for the most part. You do have player aids, which I did not show you in the overview, but you have them. The only thing that you need to make sure everyone understands is what the 3 or so different keywords mean, like C. What does C mean? What does meet mean? And how can it be used? Do I have to move a character for it to count as that character doing something? Is it meeting if they're already together and I haven't touched them? Little things like that, but overall, not a big deal. It's very easy to figure out, you know. And then lastly, tactics and strategy and luck. The game is very lucky, really. I mean, it feels that way anyway. I know there are the puzzly tactics are there. You know, if you are presented with a puzzle each round and you have to figure it out, that's fun. And it's highly tactical, right? But it really is very random as to what card you have in your hand. You have a single card in your hand, and how the board is shaped by the time it comes back around to you. That luck is going to really peak with more players. So if you're playing with 2, you can largely, I mean, for the most part, you sort of know what you're getting back as far as a puzzle goes. Yeah, things will be different, but not all of it will be different. Whereas if you're playing with more players than that, by the time it comes back around to you, the board could be radically different. So looking at the board and thinking about what you're going to do is largely pointless if you are playing with more than 2 players. You might as well wait till it comes back to you and then look and then figure out how you can manipulate this to benefit you. So that's my main hit on the game, that it really is not strategic. There is, it's all sort of up in the air and things just sort of move around and you try to get through your cards as best as you can. It does feel like the winner is decided by luck. Is that bad? Not necessarily. I mean, it is that kind of game. It is a very light, cute, simple game. But I do wonder if maybe the folks out there that are not as into, thinky games, or maybe the younger demographic, is going to find figuring out the puzzles draining when they realize that they're winning by luck anyway, So that's my main concern with the whole thing. Everything else I think is fantastic. So, Fairy Tale is a really enjoyable, pretty small game. And I think it's well made, it's attractive. I think it's going to find an audience out there. I could see this one being the kind of game that you can present to folks who are maybe not into board games, but they enjoy things like, Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, that sort of thing. And they'll look at this, they'll find it charming. They'll find it fits the fairy tale trappings of the whole thing. And the game on top of that is streamlined and simple enough that they could easily get into it. So there you go. I enjoy this one. This one's going to get a seal of approval from me. I would certainly recommend you check it out. If you are looking for something that has tile laying, has character movement, has puzzles, and manages to do all of it in a simple, straightforward way while looking good doing it. So there you go. That's it for me. I'm Z Garcia. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.